What's up, New York Knicks fans, and welcome back to the True Knicks Talk Podcast. Of course, I always got to rep my Mets, but the New York Knicks come away with a huge win tonight against the defending champs, the Denver Nuggets. We'll talk about the 38-point victory for our New York Knickerbockers here in just a second. But as always, make sure you all are subscribing to the channel. Hit the live section. Tell me your all's thoughts and opinions on this huge win for our New York Knicks. And as always, hit that thumbs up button. I definitely appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Three-pointer, puts it in. 3 seconds left. Put up for three. What a combination by Jalen Brunson.
All right, let's get into it. The Knicks win by a score of 122-84 against the defending champions, the Denver Nuggets, led by Nikola Jokic. I already got my man Jay checking into the stream. I appreciate you, Jay, and I absolutely agree. Let's go. This is an electric win. Here are some of my game notes. Like I said, there's nothing to complain about on a night tonight when everybody and anybody on the Knicks roster stepped up, and we even got to see Ryan Arcidiacono minutes. It was an absolute thrilling victory if you're a New York Knicks fan, and if you're like my boy Josh Renner here in the chat saying, what the hell just happened? He is a Nuggets fan, and I'm sorry to tell you, Josh, we just blew the brakes off of your defending champion Nuggets. I apologize. It had to be done. The Knicks are one of the hottest teams in the NBA right now, and you do not want any smoke with them. 38-point victory, the largest victory margin for the New York Knicks this season, and they just keep on rolling. Game notes right here. There's really not much to be said. If you watch the game, you know exactly what I'm going to be saying in this podcast, but a fantastic first half. They went up by 21 to end the first half, and the rest was absolute history. I need everybody to start respecting Dante DiVincenzo. If you disrespected that 4-year, $50 million contract that he earned this offseason with the New York Knicks, I need you all to send that apology letter right to his front door. He's absolutely phenomenal. And when the Knicks need clutch buckets, especially from downtown, Dante DiVincenzo is that guy to provide. And I am actually so hype right now. Like, I honestly don't even want to stick to these game notes with how hype I am. This is an actual, like, I want to say franchise-changing win with the trajectory that this team is heading toward. We know what this roster is. We've been talking about it, and I'll talk about the second unit later on this podcast episode, but this is a feel-good win. And honestly, this is a win that the Knicks build off of and gain that confidence to continue dominating the league and continue dominating the Eastern Conference. And they're creeping up. We'll step into the Eastern Conference standings here. Obviously, they're still in the 5th seed. A couple other teams still need to play, but this is an actual, like, I'm speechless right now. I'm actually speechless. Let's get into some of the comments here. Josh is saying the Nuggets may have the worst bench in history. Bruce Brown, you up? Yeah, Bruce Brown, one of the Knicks' trade targets, obviously in Toronto right now, going over there in that Pascal Siakam deal. So we'll see what happens there. But as my notes here, only Nikola Jokic 8. He had 31, 9 assists or 9 rebounds, 5 assists. He did what he did, but the Knicks mitigated the rest of that roster. And the next leading scorer on the Denver Nuggets tonight was Aaron Gordon with only 12 points. They shot less than 25% from 3. They were cold, and the Knicks were shooting above 40% from 3. If you do the math, it's quick math. Knicks, 40% from 3. Denver Nuggets, under 25. Knicks win. I mean, there's nothing really much to say. Jay saying, all jokes aside, the Knicks match up well against the Nuggets, and they certainly did. Like, the Nuggets didn't want any part of the Knicks in transition tonight, and that's exactly what we saw. OG Anunoby, steal. Josh Hart, steal. And what happened? Easy transition buckets for our New York Knicks, and that's where they thrive. Defense turns into the offense. Clyde Frazier says it all the time on the broadcast, and that's exactly what happened today. I don't know the final transition numbers from either side, but all I know is that it was a lot too little. So stand up, New York Knicks fans. We are in here. and we are now 11 games over 500 and 11-2 in the OG Anunoby era. I got my boy Big Task at hand. Salute Big Task. I definitely appreciate you checking out the stream. Knicks pride and a bunch of fireworks going off for this Knicks fan base. Like I said, this is absolutely phenomenal. I'm speechless. Honestly, I thought that we would have a hard time in this game. Obviously, going up and humbly and objectively, the best center in the league in Nikola Jokic. I understand what Embiid is, but I do give that edge to Nikola Jokic. And without Hartenstein tonight, we mitigated it, and it was what it was. Nikola Jokic got his. He's going to always get his, but the Knicks prevailed, and there's really nothing more to say here. We got Mike checking into the chat here. Told you DiVincenzo is the 2. He has to be. Honestly, I agree with you. At the end of the day, it's really hard for me to envision the Knicks upgrading their starting unit by the trade deadline. I'll get into some of the second unit sort of trade targets here in just a second. But I agree with you. Dante DiVincenzo, if you ride out the rest of the season with him at 2, I think he's already proven right now, even before tonight's game, but tonight's game just solidifies the notion that he is that guy, especially when it comes to the 3 ball. He's absolutely phenomenal, and this is exactly what the Knicks needed when they went ahead and signed him. So Josh is saying end of the Nuggets 5-game juggernaut road trip. Yep, obviously Knicks are a better team tonight, but yeah, I understand that they are coming off of a 5-game road trip. Clyde Frazier did allude to that fact early on. He also was alluding multiple times to the fact that Jokic was apparently overweight to start his career. So I love Clyde's comments in the broadcast. He always keeps it entertaining, but I agree the Nuggets are going to be fine. This is just a blimp in the road for them, but this is the wrong time for them to catch the New York Knicks. The Knicks are winners of what? 4 or 5 straight. We are cruising right now, and the OG Anunoby era is here. If you're a Knicks fan and you're still complaining about the OG Anunoby trade, sending quickly an RJ Barrett to Toronto, please seek some help. I don't know what you got going on, but this is a Leon Rose masterclass, and this fit that OG Anunoby provides the New York Knicks is absolutely what they needed to take that next step forward. And by the way, OG Anunoby has his season high as a New York Knicks, scoring 26 points, staying hot, especially from downtown. Loves that corner. We all know that. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, like at this point, a lot of people on Knicks Twitter, I see a lot of Redditics, a lot of narratives, and some people just honestly need to seek help. There's no, like, if you are a Knicks fan and you're not enjoying this and you're trying to stick to your narratives about, oh, the Knicks screwed up in the OG Anunoby trade. How could we trade a guy like Quickly or RJ Barrett? I'd have no words for you. Leon Rose is building this roster and has built this roster from 2019 on from the ground up. Give respect where respect is due. And I'm glad that he is the president of the New York Knicks. I'm sorry. Big task at hand, saying I highly recommend the Denver Nuggets extra cooked. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I know this all too well. When the Knicks were playing the Bucks earlier on, the Bucks were catching fire. They were shooting nearly 50% from 3. In today's modern NBA, any team that shoots through the longevity of an entire 4 quarters, anywhere near 45% from 3, like I said, the Knicks were plus 40%. I think they were like 41 point something last time I checked, unless that percent changed in garbage time. It's absolutely unreal, and you can't really keep pace with something like that. So the Denver Nuggets really had a hard time there, and understandably so. Like I said, OG impact's insane on both sides of the ball. His length creates matchup nightmares for opposing teams. We saw that today, and I want to give a shout out to Jericho Sims stepping up and continuously stepping up, holding his own. We saw that in the Brooklyn game last go around at Barclays, and we see that tonight. He imposed his physicality early and often on Nikola Jokic, and that really proved – it didn't prove to be much because obviously we're talking about a 38-point victory right now. But honestly, this is something where I like to see the progression from Jericho Sims. We'll talk about maybe some backup options for the second unit. But if the Knicks decide to forego a backup center for the rest of the season and they don't go out and get a Kelly Olynyk, if they don't go out and decide to target maybe like an Andre Drummond, or I know, Mike, if you're still in the chat, your boy Daniel Gafford, then Jericho Sims, if we can continue to see this progression from him, that's going to be important. Obviously, I want to give respect where respect is due. Precious Ochoa coming off the boards. I've been saying that he's undersized as a stretch power forward, obviously at 6'8". I still think he's undersized, and I still think the Knicks need to address that length at the starting or at the backup center position. Obviously, with the Mitchell Robinson injury and Isaiah Hartenstein slotting into that starting unit, but he held his own, 10 rebounds off the bench tonight. Props to you, Precious Ochiuwa. Great, phenomenal game off the bench. Shout out Jeremy coming through to the stream. Shout out Jeremy Berman. Big game coming up against the Heat. Yeah, the Knicks get both teams on the back-to-back, not back-to-back, but back-to-back games that they're playing against the two teams that went to the finals. Obviously, the Denver Nuggets tonight and the Miami Heat at 3 p.m. on Saturday. So it's going to be another tough test. Miami Heat, they're not doing too well. They just lost tonight to the Boston Celtics, but they always create a problem for the New York Knicks. They always have matchup problems, especially with the way that team can catch fire from deep. We saw in the last playoffs, last go around, it was pretty much Jimmy Butler and a bunch of outside shooters, and they prevailed at the end of the day to go on to the finals. So that's going to be a little bit of a tough test. It always is against the Miami Heat. And yeah, can't wait for that game, Jay is saying, against the Heat. But this is my notes. Brunson is just him. He's just him. He only needed to score 21 tonight, but with the pace that he was going, he was probably going to go for another 40. They only needed him to score 21. He went 7 of 10 from the field, did what he needed to do before the game got out of hand, and he inevitably went to the bench. We don't need any injuries, especially with the All-Star break coming up. And speaking of All-Star break, can we talk about this for a second? Why is he not a All-Star starter? Look at this graphic. Look at the disparity here between Jalen Brunson and Damian Lillard, who just got named to the starting point guard on the Eastern Conference All-Star team. Can we understand, take a look at these numbers right now and tell me that Jalen Brunson wasn't snubbed from the fans? This is just a popularity contest. These fan votes are a popularity contest, and I hate them. I absolutely hate them. This is egregious. In almost every single category, Jalen Brunson, he just, oh, I got no words. That's how frustrated I am. I got absolutely no words. But anyways, I'm going to let these stats speak for itself. You guys do the math on who should be a starter versus who shouldn't be. I hope Jalen Brunson gets named to the All-Star game as a reserve, but with the type of season that he's having, with the type of season that he's leading the Knicks toward, it's disappointing to say the least. Obviously, Tyrese Halliburton and Damian Lillard getting the nod as the starters, but I really do think that this fan voting is a load of crap. And we see here, I mean, the three-point percentage, the field goal percentage is all in favor of Jalen Brunson, right? Damian Lillard has this smidge over Jalen Brunson in terms of the rebounding category, a smidge in the assist category, and then the steal category. But everything that you want out of your point guard, the points, the field goal percentage, the three-point percentage, and just the overall eye test. If you've watched either team, just the overall eye test of who is more important to their respective teams, no doubt should be Jalen Brunson. And I feel really bad for him that he couldn't be a starter this year, but it is what it is. This is the All-Star fan voting. This is the way it's set up, and we just have to live with that fact, unfortunately. But regardless, this is not going to take away anything from what Jalen Brunson's doing. And the fact of the matter is that if these NBA media people keep disrespecting Jalen Brunson's name, right? I've already dropped a video on that about Becky Hammond disrespecting Jalen Brunson earlier on this season. Kenny the Jet Smith, he's a culprit of that too. Most recently, Candace Parker, who Knicks fans just absolutely obliterated for her incorrect takes on the TNT broadcast at halftime, saying that Jalen Brunson was better in the first round than the second round against the Heat in last year's playoffs. People are upset. Knicks fans are upset about the way the NBA media is treating the New York Knicks, and we've had enough. Quite simple. Shout out Shaq. Shout out Jamal Crawford. Shout out Kendrick Perkins. They all know what's up, and they've been giving the Knicks credit. And Charles Barkley didn't doing the same thing, but somebody got to tell Kenny the Jet Smith to tighten up, because honestly, it's a shame and it's pitiful to hear the rhetoric and the narrative still coming out of these NBA media personnel's mouths when it comes to Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks in their entirety. So that's all I'm going to say on that. And that's all. That's literally all I'm going to say on that. Like, the numbers speak for itself. It is what it is. If the Knicks continue to keep on being disrespected, so what? Prove them wrong, and we did tonight. That's it. Jeremy saying he agrees with this notion. Yeah, this is some BS. Honestly, this is some BS. For lack of a better term, I wish I had more coherent words and more intelligent words to describe this, but that's all I can say is this BS. Jay is saying facts. Brunson should be a starter. He's the best point guard in the East, hands down. Absolutely, he's better than Tyrese Halliburton. He's better than Damian Lillard. Objectively, you see the numbers here. He's the best point guard in the Eastern Conference, hands down. Stats don't show how important he is to the team. Yeah, he does all the intangibles, man. You know, Jalen Brunson, you know he's going to be, we all know he's undersized, right? One of the best middies in the game. Footwork when he gets into that paint is impeccable. The defensive charges and him throwing himself, or at least putting his body on the line to take those charges against guys who are damn near a foot taller than him. There's a lot of intangibles to go along with these numbers that we don't see every day, or at least like from the naked eye, that Jalen Brunson provides this team. So shout out Jalen Brunson. Props to him. Hats off, Jalen Brunson. That's all I got to say. That's all we can say at this point. Big Task saying, hey, Boston, we owe you one. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Always a good time. I don't like Boston either, but I don't like the Heat. I think I like Boston a little bit more than the Heat. It's really hard to grade those two teams in terms of my liking category or my liking scale. But yeah, I guess we should be happy that Boston beat Miami today. And Boston's killing it this season themselves. We'll see here on the screen the updated Eastern Conference standings. The Knicks improved to 28-17 overall, 5th in the East still, creeping up on the Cavs. I believe the Cavs did not play today. I got to check back and see if the Cavs played today. But as far as I believe in terms of the percentages, this might actually put the Knicks in the 4th seed, if I have that correct. I got to check the updated standings. Let me go to ESPN real quick, actually. Let me go to ESPN. Someone fact check me in the comments section. Like I said, as always, I appreciate y'all's support. Make sure you all are hitting that thumbs up, commenting your thoughts and opinions, and subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. I thoroughly appreciate that. Make sure you let me know what's up in the comment section if you like the show, if you don't like the show. If I'm speaking facts or not, let me know in the comment section. Let's see the standings here after that win. Yep, the Knicks go up to the 4th seed. So sorry, this graphic is incorrect. The Knicks are 4th in the East at 28-17 overall. And we have Cavs versus Bucks tomorrow, according to Jay. Yeah, like I said, I have always thought, like, when we saw the Eastern Conference getting lumped together here with the Pacers, the Heat, the Cavs, and the Knicks all having similar records, especially like a week and a half ago, I knew no doubt in my mind, especially after the OG Anunoby trade, I was like, the Knicks are going to separate themselves. It's only a matter of time. And we're starting to see that here with a little bit of a win streak under our belts. And I'm really mad that we still lost that Dallas game. That was a game that I figured we should have won. Especially if Luka wasn't playing during that game. That was an absolutely embarrassing loss. But yeah, that loss still haunts me. But after that, all wins in that category. So I absolutely love that. And the Knicks are on the roll. Like I said, I'm ecstatic. Can y'all tell? Like, I'm ecstatic. There's nothing better than to sit here and watch a 38-point victory over the defending champion Denver Nuggets. Do you want me to say that one more time for you all? I cannot think of a better way to spend my Thursday night than watching our beloved New York Knicks improve to 11 games over 500 and beat the defending champion Denver Nuggets without their starting center in Isaiah Hartenstein right now. Can you believe that? And I don't think a lot of people are giving the man who's leading this team from the sidelines in Tom Thibodeau for instilling this physicality, this culture. Everyone who craps on Tom Thibodeau, these players love to play for him. You look at everything Julius Randle says. You saw the smirk that Josh Hart gave Tom Thibodeau when he pulled him out in garbage time in the 4th quarter. These guys love playing for Tom Thibodeau. So for us as fans and for Knicks fans to go on Twitter and critique Tom Thibodeau's every move and call for his firing because you don't like the way he goes about his rotations, spare me. Spare me. Shout out Jeremy again, being a fan for a long time. Can't forget those games against the Heat in the 90s. Have to say, I dislike them even more than the Celtics. I would agree with you. Obviously, I mean, I was not around for those 90s days, those 90s Knicks. Unfortunately, I wish I was, but I agree with you in that sentiment. I think that the Heat are a little bit higher on my dislike list than the Boston Celtics are. What up, Patrick? Shout out, Patrick. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning into the stream. I know you're tuning into some of our Mets stuff too, but I am repping our Mets. Like I said, I dropped a podcast earlier today on the True Mets Talk podcast, but I figured I'd do a post-game live for the Knicks today in lieu of this absolutely phenomenal win. Like I said, we're just about over 20 minutes on the stream. Probably only going to be here for about 10 more minutes, cap it out at 30 minutes today. There's really not much else to say about this Knicks team. Like I said, hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Tell your friends, tell your family. I'm almost at 450 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed already, please make sure to do so. I thoroughly appreciate it. And you know exactly where to find me on all my social media handles. I'm talking Mets, talking Knicks, talking Giants, talking Rangers, all New York sports at CPNY Sports on both X and Instagram. Thank you for the support. Yeah, can we talk about OG making the chemistry of this team better? Yeah, this is like what I go back into my game notes here, Patrick. OG Anunoby's impact is absolutely insane. And the reason why I say that, and I said this on my last post-game live or two post-game lives ago, is that you look at OG Anunoby, he doesn't need the ball in his hands to make an impact. That is what's underrated about OG Anunoby, and that's why I'm so happy he's on this Knicks team, because he makes everyone around him better just by default of knowing what spot to be at all times. If someone else has the ball in their hands, Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, we saw it multiple times today. He knows how to spot up and get to his favorite spots for those kick out threes. Julius Randle found him on a handful of occasions. That's on the offensive side of the ball. The defensive side of the ball, he's guarding the best players, right? Obviously, Jericho Sims and I guess Precious Achiuwa were on Nikola Jokic today. But honestly, if you threw OG Anunoby, I'm not sure if he guarded Nikola Jokic tonight on any possessions, but if he did, I'd have full confidence in him. He gets his hands in the passing lanes and he knows exactly where to be on contests. That is something that I've seen the Knicks struggle with time and time again. They struggled with it last playoffs when the Heat were shooting whatever they wanted from three-point land. We struggled on the contests, and this is where OG Anunoby is going to make this team better. Not only contesting his guy, but if there's a lapse on defense and we need a defensive rotation, OG Anunoby is going to be there. Rest assured. So absolutely a great point. We need to give the utmost credit to OG Anunoby, even if he doesn't stuff the stat sheet in the points category. The stuff that he does defensively alone makes this team better than they ever were before this season. And that's no disrespect. That's no shade to IQ. That's definitely no shade to RJ Barrett. I was a very big fan of them during their time here and their tenure here, but they could not even impact the game the way that OG Anunoby does, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Absolutely. Great comment, Patrick. Moving on here, let's see. We are approaching the February 8th trade deadline, and a lot of rumors are suggesting that the Knicks are in on names that you see here, especially Malcolm Brogdon, maybe a Bogdanovich. Definitely have been linked to Alec Burks in a potential reunion or a Bruce Brown. I want them to be linked to Kelly Olynyk, but I think the conversation and the topic that we should be having here is this the right time for the New York Knicks and also, by the way, I'm so sorry. I forgot something. I'm giving props where props are due everywhere. Like I said, the bench unit, before I talk about potentially upgrading that second unit, shout out to Quentin Grimes. He did exactly what he needed to do, attacking the basket first and foremost to open up that three ball for him. That's where Quentin Grimes succeeds. If he attacks the basket first and foremost, has the confidence to do so, then that outside shot starts falling. And we saw that tonight, 19 points off the bench, and Deuce McBride over 10 plus points. I believe he had 13 today. We know the asset that Deuce McBride is in that second unit, shoots the ball really well, is a great, and honestly, I want to say it, as a second unit guy, an elite 7-8 man off the bench in terms of the spot up category and the catch and shoot. And that's where I think if we get a guy like Malcolm Brogdon in the doors to be that primary ball handler, averaging just over 5 assists in his time with the Portland Trailblazers this year, and you have Malcolm Brogdon running the 1 and Deuce McBride running the 2, I think that's a great 1-2 duo in your second unit, and I'm all for going after Malcolm Brogdon to enhance this second unit before this February 8th trade deadline. Two things here. Like I said, the Knicks need a primary ball handler. I respect Deuce McBride's game. I want him to be in that second unit, and I think he's done everything in his realm of opportunity to show that he belongs. But quite simply, he's still shaky in terms of having that ball in his hands as a point guard. You move him to that two guard position coming off the bench with a guy like Malcolm Brogdon, and you're in great shape. I would love that for our New York Knicks. I don't know what it's going to take to get a Malcolm Brogdon. You're definitely going to have to throw in Fournier to make the money match. I'm not sure if they're looking for a pick, an NBA-ready player, because because Quentin Grimes would probably fit that bill. But you got to do your due diligence in terms of calling up the Portland Trailblazers at least and seeing what his price is. That is a match made in heaven, especially for the rest of this season when the Knicks could use, 1, a primary ball handler, and 2, just flat out more scoring off the bench. Because honestly, if Quentin Grimes is off, your best scorer off the bench is Deuce McBride. And that's a problem if you want to compete over the long haul, maybe a 7-game series with the Boston Celtics when you meet up with them in the playoffs, if that does happen. That's a problem. I will say that. But for right now, the Knicks are rolling, obviously. We'll see. If I had to choose, Kelly Olynyk kills 2 birds, 2 needs with 1 stone in that trade. But we all know where he plays. Jay said it on my last post game in terms of who the guy at the negotiation table is making those deals for the Jazz. He hates the Knicks. We hate him. And honestly, I can't see the Jazz and the Knicks striking a deal after that debacle that we saw in the Donovan Mitchell trade talks. I would love Kelly Olynyk. He could be our stretch 5, a little lengthier than a Precious Achiuwa, is shooting 40+% from 3 as well, can provide that scoring in the second unit, but I just don't see it happening. And I want no part of Alec Burks, no disrespect to him. He was phenomenal for the Knicks, especially in that early playoff run in 2020/the 2021 season, but I don't want any part of him. There's no need for a guy like that on this team, and I don't want Bruce Brown. I don't want Bruce Brown. I don't care. We saw DeMarcus Cousins say that Bruce Brown is a prototypical Tibbs' player. Bruce Brown even said himself that he fits the mold of what the Knicks are doing under Tom Thibodeau, but I want no part of him. He does not provide the Knicks any sort of scoring off the bench, and that's what the Knicks need to keep remaining competitive throughout the rest of the season and to make a statement in these playoffs and build off of a playoff series win from last year. Stay away from Bruce Brown. It's not going to be worth it at all. Our best scorer is Slasher Grimes, but we just don't see that consistently, Mike. I'm going to have to disagree with you here. We don't see that consistently from Grimes. I loved what we saw tonight. He scored 19, especially when you're saying it here. He's slashing, he's cutting, he's driving to the basket. That confident version of Quentin Grimes definitely would be our best scorer, but with the way his inconsistencies have been rolling this season, I can't say that. It's definitely Deuce McBride at this point. Until proven otherwise, to be honest with you, it just seems like Quentin Grimes got pissed off that the Knicks are including him in trade talks, and now he wants to step it up. I need to see that version of Quentin Grimes over the long haul. I'm sorry. Great point, but I got to disagree. It is still Deuce McBride off that bench that is going to be providing the bulk scoring for us moving forward. No to Brown and Burks. Yeah, Jay, you just don't move the needle for what the Knicks are right now and the way the roster is shaking out. Alec Burks and Bruce Brown just don't move that needle to be competitive with a Milwaukee Bucks team for a 7-game series. Although, honestly, right now, I think we can be competitive with the Milwaukee Bucks over a 7-game series. But I'm talking maybe more of your Boston Celtics teams. Like, we need consistent scoring off the second unit, right? And I do trust fully in Deuce McBride, but when it comes playoff time, are we really comfortable rolling with Deuce McBride and Quentin Grimes as the primary scorers off the bench? I'm not so convinced. Get me Malcolm Brogdon, and that's what I'm going to be lobbying for here because I think it's a match made in heaven, especially with the way the roster is set up this season. We beat Milwaukee in 5. They're not physical. That's actually false. If you listened or if you looked at the way that they beat us, especially in those first 3 games this season, they matched the Knicks' physicality, which is so weird that they did that with the Knicks because in general, their defense has been slacking without Drew Holiday this season. But if you look at those games, not only did they shoot historically from 3, which is hard to keep up with in any game, and we saw that in the Knicks Nuggets game tonight, but they actually played just as physical as the New York Knicks. So I wouldn't write off the Bucks' physicality. I know they don't have it as of late. They just fired their coach for one reason or another. I'm not entirely sure what the reason was there, but maybe Giannis and Dame didn't really like what was happening there behind the scenes. But Milwaukee, the Heat, and the Boston Celtics for sure, Milwaukee has matched the Knicks' physicality before, and it was this season. So I wouldn't be too sure about that. With Brogdon, I'm very confident in McBride and Grimes off the bench. I agree with this notion, but to get Malcolm Brogdon, you might have to part with one of those guys. They probably want an NBA-ready guy if I had to guess. If it just took picks to get Malcolm Brogdon, I'd love that. I'd absolutely love a bench consisting of Brogdon, Grimes, and Deuce manning the 1, 2, 3. Or I guess you should say Quentin Grimes manning the 3 and Deuce the 2. I would love that. But I'm not entirely sure we landed Malcolm Brogdon without giving up a Deuce McBride or a Quentin Grimes. Probably they're going to prefer Quentin Grimes, but that's just my guess. That's just my guess. And then obviously, you don't see on your screen here DeJounte Murray. I think it's a long shot, but that would definitely take a Quentin Grimes. Although the latest report says that the Atlanta Hawks are looking for a expiring contract and 2 first-round picks, which is interesting because I feel like it would take Quentin Grimes to get DeJounte Murray, but that's not what the latest report suggested. So let's keep an eye out on DeJounte Murray and that trade talk. But there's a lot of things behind the scenes with DeJounte Murray, like who he's represented by in Clutch Sports and Rich Paul. And we all know that connection with CAA is not necessarily a good one. And I understand that the Hawks are the ones negotiating here, not Rich Paul, in terms of when it's all said and done about trading their player. But agents do have influence in today's NBA. Let's just face it and let's call a spade a spade. They absolutely do. Mike is saying we are different now than when we were at the beginning of the year. You cannot compare us to that. I understand that. And it really wasn't. I mean, it was last month, I believe, is the last Bucks. It was Christmas, was the last Bucks versus Knicks matchup. That's when we beat them on Christmas Day. And then 2 days prior to that is when they smacked us. So we're looking at about a month time. I understand the Knicks are definitely a different team. I think OG Anunoby definitely helps the Knicks in that category. But like I said, if you come across a team that already has extensive playoff experience like the Milwaukee Bucks, like I would just not depend on them just rolling over like I feel like you're alluding to here. I think that I know the Knicks are a different team than a month ago, but I'm still going to respect the Milwaukee Bucks as a top 3 Eastern Conference team that they've still proven to be this season. So heard Murray's heading to the Lakers. There were some legs to that. I saw that report as well. I wouldn't be shocked if the Hawks and Knicks negotiations are a stalemate and he heads elsewhere. Lakers are probably a likely destination. I just don't see it happening with the New York Knicks, unfortunately, with the way the negotiations have been playing out so far. Ian Begley also saying that as of late last week, he hasn't heard anything about the Knicks and Hawks negotiating for DeJounte Murray. So probably not likely. If I had to guess, just before I round it all out here, before I head out of here, I would guess that the starting 5 this season is going to remain the same with DiVincenzo at the 2. You upgrade the second unit, maybe get a backup big to supplement Precious Achiuwa, and maybe you get a guy like a Malcolm Brogdon or a Bogdanovich to be your primary ball handler alongside Quentin Grimes and Deuce McBride if you don't have to give up either of those in a potential trade. And that's where we roll for the rest of the season and see how it plays out before this offseason hits and we upgrade our team in the offseason and maybe get that superstar player with the abundance of assets that we still have, both, in terms of Deuce McBride, Quentin Grimes, and the abundance of capital that we have. That's just where I see the Knicks going toward. And Jay's saying, waiting for confirmation from a reliable source. Yeah, I don't know. We're still about just a little less than 2 weeks away from the NBA trade deadline. Anything can happen. I just wouldn't be confident in DeJounte Murray if you're a Knicks fan. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying I don't want DeJounte Murray. Because contrary to popular belief and a lot of people saying that he wouldn't fit with Brunson, I think he would. I just don't see it happening from the negotiation standpoint. I don't see it happening. But great game tonight. Like I said, upcoming game, and like people are helping me out in the chat, upcoming game this Saturday afternoon against the Miami Heat. It is a little bit of a earlier afternoon game, 3 p.m. versus the defending Eastern Conference champions, led by Jimmy Butler. It's always nice to get a win against the Miami Heat. I hope the Knicks are able to do so because honestly, I'm going to say it right now, the Miami Heat are my least favorite team in the Eastern Conference. So get the dub at all costs. I want to see some more sound basketball. The underrated thing about this game, and I missed it in my game notes, is the Knicks, who average, Clyde was saying it on the broadcast, around 14 turnovers a game. They didn't turn the ball over nearly as much today. Props to them. That trend needs to continue. A great 38-point victory for the New York Knicks. Like I said, it's a great time to be a Knicks fan. Don't hop on the bandwagon now. Don't start supporting this team now if all you're going to do and all you've done is push your own narratives. That is at Knicks Twitter. You know who you are, but if you're on the right side of Knicks Twitter, shout out you. Salute to you. We are confident in this team. We appreciate Tom Thibodeau. We appreciate Leon Rose, Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, all of that good stuff. Let's hope next week Jalen Brunson gets voted, or not voted, but gets nominated as an all-star reserve because he at least deserves that. Because the snub that he just got as a non-starter in the Eastern Conference because of Tyrese Halliburton and Damian Lillard getting in as starters because of the fan vote is atrocious. Atrocious. Throw the NBA All-Star voting system away. I don't want to hear it anymore. Like I said, this has been the latest post-game live from the True Knicks Talk Podcast. I appreciate everyone. Hit that thumbs up. If you've been watching today in the live chat, I appreciate the comments. If not, if you're catching the rerun, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. A lot more Knicks talk on my channel, and you know where to find me. All my social medias, X, Instagram, all that good stuff. YouTube at CPNY Sports. Shout out everyone in the chat. I appreciate you, Jay, Mike, Patrick, Jeremy, Big Task, Josh, everybody in the chat, Justin. I didn't think I'd throw your comment out there, but Justin tuning into the stream, I definitely appreciate you all. Thank you so much for the support. I will be back. I'm not sure when. Probably not going to do a post game after the Heat game. Maybe if I have some time, but definitely sometime next week, I'll be talking Knicks basketball again on this podcast. Without further ado, this has been another episode of the True Knicks Talk Podcast. Electric win over the Denver Nuggets. Let's keep it rolling. Let's beat the Heat on Saturday. It's your boy CP. I'm out. Peace. Thank you for watching the latest episode of the CP New York Sports Pod. If you enjoyed this content, make sure you hit that thumbs up, comment your thoughts and opinions, and use the lower right-hand button of this video to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.